freemmostation.com.
What's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and today we're going to be talking about Revelation Online, the new MMORPG that is, well, like the topic of conversation for everybody right now, okay? It just went open beta, so go try it out for yourselves, guys. Let's do this. It's free. And yes, spoiler alert, it is worth trying right now, I will say that. Of course, I have some issues with it, but there's a lot of things that I kind of discovered about the game, even though this is my third attempt at doing a first impression, that, I don't know, I've kind of am enjoying myself. I'm kind of enjoying myself, and it's surprising to me, because there's been a lot of videos, and if you've been watching my streams, I've kind of been telling everybody to be weary of this game, and I'm not gonna go back on my word with that. I think that we should keep our hype in check. However, I personally think that there's some things there that could be really, really exciting and entertaining. Now, the gameplay in the background that you're watching is of me playing the Occultist class, and it was really only when I created this character here that I really started to kind of see the potential of the game. This is a stance dancing class. It's got skill shot heals, it's got really interesting skill shot nukes, and I really like the control schemes of the game that you can actually choose from. There's multiple control schemes, so you can be comfortable. If you're a caster, maybe you want to have it top down, click to move. Maybe if you are playing a more like melee DPS class, or maybe an aimed class, you might want to do action targeting, or maybe you want to do a hybrid of the two. You can do that, and that's actually really comfortable. A lot of MMOs are implementing that feature now too, but I just want to say that this game, it seems fully featured in terms of its menu, as well as the optimization. So yeah, I mean, pretty awesome. Now, in saying that, the game does look really good, standstill, and for screenshots. I mean, there's even a camera app inside the game. But whenever you're actually playing the game, you're going to see that there's some staggered animations with some skills and monsters. You're going to see some, reflections not look that great. And all in all, the game just kind of has this, it's a free-to-play game kind of look and feel to it, but the overall aesthetic of the game is it's wuxia, yeah. So it's definitely kind of Chinese looking. It's very Eastern inspired, but it's also extremely fantasy. Okay, there's frickin' narwhal, star whale, frickin' flying whales that can go into the water. I don't know. There's some crazy shit happening here. Very magical, very mysterious, and very weird and colorful and kind of chaotic. And I don't know, man. It can look really beautiful. It really can. I definitely don't regret putting it on my top 10 most beautiful MMO list. Absolutely don't. But at the same time, there's definitely some rough edges. Okay, sometimes the graphics can look rough here or there, with the water, and yeah. So there's for every complaint I have, though, there is a positive, and I'm kind of starting to realize that. My first impressions, I guess you could say, in my streams, I generally was kind of toxic almost and very negative about the game, and it wasn't unwarranted. Okay, it might as a Western player who normally plays Western MMOs, if you go into this game, it might kind of throw you off a little bit because it's very cheesy, and I think a lot of its humor is kind of lost in translation. In fact, literally, some of the game is still not translated. It's not in any sort of readable language other than its native language. So it's just, I don't even know, dude. You can't, it's just completely untranslated. And some things are just harshly translated, and then some things they're probably properly translated, but the joke is lost in translation because of things and stuff, yeah. So culturally, this is a different game, but maybe because of that, it could be exciting for you, maybe? I don't know, I kind of liked Age of Wushu because of that. Anyways, so yeah, it's a wuxia game, so it kind of like Blade and Soul, and you're gonna definitely see some parallels with the movement mechanics, because whenever you're out of combat, you basically do everything you can in Blade and Soul. That really pioneered that idea, and you'll see it in other games like Yule Gang 2 or Swordsman Online. There's a lot of other games coming out that are, kung fu fighting kind of games, and they have these sort of mechanics. So yeah, Revelation Online borrowed from that, absolutely, and that's going to be kind of the case for every mechanic the game has, kind of. It's yeah, let's take a little bit from that MMO, let's take a little bit from this MMO, and so in the end, we have this game that's very Eastern aesthetics, but it's kind of developed and designed mechanically like a Western MMO. So if you have played certain classes in other games, it should translate pretty well here. But I will say, at least the Occultist, ever since I started playing this class, I've been having a lot of fun mechanically with the game, and really started to be able to see the potential of the game. Even though I've played games with very mechanically intensive and weird classes like the Mesmer in Guild Wars 2, or the Druid in World of Warcraft, the Occultist in this game, I feel, is this game's really weird and unique class. It's a healer class, but it's a stance dancer, so it can actually do damage in things. And so, instantaneously, you get, 5 abilities or 6 abilities, and then on your 7th ability, you learn the stance dance. So then all of a sudden, you actually have, not counting the stance switch ability, you now have 12 abilities to use. So all of your abilities have a secondary sort of attack that they do in healing form, which is pretty awesome. So a lot of complexity with that class, and the heals are actually like mechanically intensive themselves. There's one where it's a skill shot and you have to bounce a ball and then detonate it. One is a well, and then, you know, from there, there's like all sorts of different ways to actually heal people. And then, of course, you can stance, and then so you have a damage totem, that's a healing totem, you have a damage well or a healing well, and then so on and so forth. And so the class was very mechanically intensive, and I think it's really important for me to kind of focus on that because that's what I did for this first impression. And then all of a sudden with this impression, even though I did literally the same thing that I've been doing like for all these other videos and all these other streams, I still haven't gotten to endgame. I still haven't gotten to group content. I'm sorry, it seems to take forever. Tutorial is like, it must be like 5 hours long or some bullshit. But this, all of a sudden, I started to see what potentially could be, you know, on the horizon there with its PvP, which is supposed to be massive. It's supposed to be, you know, a big focus of the game with actually fighting these big-ass monsters. Yo, okay, the combat is cool, okay? Let's just assume that for every class, the combat is cool. You know, you should probably, you know, test out some different classes and see what you like, because I didn't even know the Occultist was going to be so fucking amazing. But I will say that in other games that have fast combat, like Black Desert Online, yeah, their combat is fast, and there are combos and things, and that is exciting, that's cool, but the monsters themselves are really slow and dumb. But in this game, yes, the open world monsters are definitely stupid and dumb, but when you go into instances and you fight these big-ass monsters, holy shit, dude, they are aggressive, they're fast. And I love that about a lot of Eastern games that I've been playing. A lot of Eastern RPGs and action RPGs, they do the animations of monsters so aggressively. Like, it looks so good. It is just something that you just don't see in the West at all. And the actual attacks come out so fast, so rapidly, so aggressive. All I can say is, fucking dude, the East knows how to do giant monsters. That's all I'm saying, dude. Anyways, this game seems like it's got a lot of potential when it comes to its endgame rating, as long as the monsters are actually, you know, they actually are really fun and exciting, as I've seen the potential for. I was able to do some challenge modes, because there is a challenge mode that's opened up immediately to you, where you can just kind of do these like little boss fights back to back to back, which, yes, the game gets really repetitive really fast, especially with its questing, but it did allow me to see that, you know, a couple of different monsters and how they operate, and dude, I think it's really cool, dude. I think it's really cool. Also, there's one boss fight very early on where you can actually target different parts of his body. So if we can expand that, it's almost like Dark Soulsian, isn't it? That's almost like Monster Hunter, where you can actually, you know, target different parts of the body. Maybe different classes, maybe different DPS are going to want to fight different parts of the body. Maybe at different phases, at different times. I don't know, dude. Like, you could do so much with that, and then all these monsters have they have basically a Dark Souls level set of abilities. You know, they kind of have like a basic attack, and then they have like rapid fire attacks once they reach like, you know, different phases, like, you know, 1/3 of their health or 1/2 of their health. They get kind of different attacks that become aggressive. They get bigger skill. Holy shit, dude. Some of their skill shots are really crazy, dude. Giant lasers that go across the screen. It's stuff like that you're immediately introduced to in this game that you normally don't see in games until the very end game. So that's why I'm excited to see, yo, what is the end game of this game gonna look like if we're immediately starting with this kind of stuff? Now, the game starts off, it's really easy, okay? It was extremely easy early on, but still, even though it is easy, I can see the potential. And tragically, that's kind of where I gotta leave you, because it's still a first impression, and even though I played it multiple times for, you know, hours, and I streamed it, and I've been talking to a lot of people on stream over at Skylent Games, BT dubs, it's just, we haven't really come to a consensus of how we feel about the game as a whole, and we can't really tell where the game is gonna go. You see, Revelation Online seems to be developed with like a big, like they're casting a big net, kind of. With this mindset that they want to have the widest audience possible. But at the same time, I think it's really developed into a very niche game. And I think it might actually be for a player like me, even though initially I really didn't like the advertisements, I didn't like the aesthetic, and I didn't really like the direction the game was going in. But I think that the big-ass monster fights and the whole guild v guild thing, it's like PvEVP, where guilds fight over giant monsters and things. I think that concept could be really cool, especially now that I actually played a class that I'm really enjoying. And I do want to make that a point, guys. MMOs, sometimes you just don't know how good it is until you find your class. So anyways, I'm pretty sure the Occultist is my class, and now that I've played it and I actually have that interesting, that interesting game feel to me personally with my personal bias, I really like the stance dancing, the skill shots, throwing out heals and doing damage. I don't know, man. It felt really good, and I'm kind of being like a child here. It just felt good playing that class, and I could see how it could feel really good, in the endgame dungeons or in the PvP or I don't know. But yes, guys, I'm going to reiterate real quick at the end here a lot of what I said in previous videos. The game does look good, okay? It does look good. It can be colorful, and if you're standing still, it can look amazing. I do not regret putting it on my top 10 most gorgeous MMO list. But however, when you're moving and when you're using spells and stuff, it's hit or miss, and it definitely depends on what settings you have ticked on or off. Sometimes, a lot of the times, the animations look kind of weird, and a lot of the times the animations are actually staggered, in that by that they don't actually run at the same FPS as the whole game is running, and that's a way for the game to be optimized. Oh, by the way, my complaint earlier in other videos where I said the game was unoptimized as shit, nah, dude, it's actually doing pretty good, doing pretty freaking amazing. All you need is really to fully translate the game, which is still not translated, which is... Anyways, but yeah, the game is running great. It looks generally pretty good, except for water. The water looks bad. I'm gonna have to say that. The water does not look good, and sometimes textures don't load at all, so yeah, that's a thing. But, they're working on it. It's just open beta is kind of a little late to be working on stuff like that. But I think there's still hope for the game. Now, I will say, all over the place, you're going to see kind of like cut corners. It kind of, in ways, it's like, yeah, this is a free-to-play MMO. The UI is cluttered to fuck. You're constantly bombarded with rewards and buy from the cash shop, which, by the way, I have no idea if it's pay to win. It is way too confusing, but maybe that should be a hint to you guys, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I feel very vague about this game. And normally in first impressions, I'm extremely... I'm serious, and I'm very confident and cocky about how a game is probably going, and I predict how a game is going to actually end up and be like. But with Revelation Online, I feel like I have a lot of conceptions, and I think that even if as a whole the game isn't for most people, there might actually be something special here, and it might actually be for a player like me, who, first impressions actually thought that it wasn't for a person like me. I don't know. All I know is that maybe this game is worth trying. Maybe you should try this game, try out the different classes, and as cheesy as it possibly could be, I think it might grow on you, because it's kind of happening with me. In the end, I still kind of feel vague about it, so I want to know what you guys think. What's your favorite class in Revelation Online, and how do you feel about the game as a whole? Please let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I really do hope you have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.